All right, friends, welcome back. Live scene, take two, as people slide their way back in. I am living the replay, right? The last thing I tried didn't work. And now I'm going to try again. Today, we are exploring the beginning of a new series. And I'm a little bit jolted, truth be told, because this is take two. Today, we're going to explore 6 roles over the next 6 weeks. Jody Mitchell, thank you. I swear, doing these YouTube lives is the best way to practice and train my skills as a nervous system ninja, right? Like you think life's going to do one thing and then it does another. I had planned and scheduled out the next 6 weeks of these, and it shifted my camera somehow. So thanks everybody for coming back. Welcome back. Who's here? Where are you from? We had Awana, we had Brent, we had Brian, we had Willeen, we've got Jody, we have Kingdom for a Horse. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Dr. Renee Ostertag. I'm a physical therapist and a psychotherapist in the state of Denver, the city of Denver, the state, Colorado, United States. And I train myself every day to become more of a nervous system ninja. And I help others do the same. And they say a teacher is somebody who's willing to learn in public. And so I love my work in the world of helping bring together the best from physical and psychotherapy to find more vitality and break free from the chains of persistent stress and trauma. Anxiety, depression, all these things that rob us from the quality of life that I believe is genuinely available for all of us. And we got to play our part in it. And we finished up a series on choosing health last week. Do you want to accept, tolerate, or reject? Boxing and Bulldogs, welcome. Thanks for being here. Do you want to accept, tolerate, or reject all that's happening in your life? And you get to choose. And the more you choose what's in your life and accept what's happening in your life, reject that which needs to be rejected, and stop tolerating, the less suffering you will encounter across the board. Part of choosing health is choosing your own brain, body, mind, life, relationships, and mind is an energy and information field that encompasses your brain, body, and relationships. So there's 6 roles that are very common that we play in our lives. And the less we know we're playing them, the more they're playing us. And so the more we know about these roles, the more we can choose to engage or disengage and optimize more health, vitality, and well-being. Welcome back, Willeen. Who else is here? I know there's more people here. This is part 2, start 2 of today's focus, the victim role. Before we get officially started, what is a victim? How do you define it? I'm really curious to hear. How do you define victim? So while those answers are coming in, because I would genuinely love to hear from you, chime on in as you tune in, chime in and tell me, how do you define victim? What does that mean to you? When you hear that word, what comes up for you? Tell me, tell me. So today, I'm a doctorate. Well, I'm a human that has a doctorate degree in physical therapy. And I just want to say everything I share in this YouTube live is informational and educational in nature. Medical disclaimer here. This is not medical advice or treatment, and it does not substitute for a consultation with a healthcare professional. So please, if you are feeling troubled or concerned with symptoms that you have in your life, seek appropriate help and support. I am a licensed provider. If you would like help and support from me, please sign up for a free consult on my website. I will also give you the disclaimer. that I am a professional and I am human, which means I am biased, privileged, and imperfect. If you're on board with the messiness and the fun that can come from the messiness as we learn together, stick around because you're going to learn more today about the victim role, the benefits and the drawbacks, so that you can learn how it's showing up in your life and then make some choices about how you want to engage or disengage with it. Wileen says that a victim. Wileen says victim. Wileen defines a victim. And how do you define it? I want to hear from you now or later. Wileen defines it as when I am in blame of someone else for some circumstance in my life. Giving my power to someone else or some situation that would upset me. Yes, Wileen, I hear that I am disconnected from my power and I'm blaming another person. Awana says that a victim is the receiver of aggression. Absolutely. And you know what? We can reject things. I don't need to accept or simply passively receive your aggression. I can choose to reject that. I can engage in conversation. I can walk away. That's more of a creator. I think the victim doesn't feel like they have access to the power to make a choice in how they want to respond or react to the aggression. And that might be a key theme that emerges here is, are we responding or are we reacting? Reacting can tend to keep us in a loop. Responding requires a little more space between stimulus and response, right? That space, that breathing room to let you pause, clarify, decide, right? Pecklity, pause after the stimulus, clarify. How do I want to be here and who am I here and what do I need to do to make myself congruent to decide how I want to show up in this next moment? Oh, Joseph Finnegan. Well, thank you very much for my good looking biceps. I appreciate that. Joseph, how do you define a victim? Jody says someone who is harmed or suffers under a circumstance or condition. Agreed, Jody. And I'm going to read the official definition. You're pretty darn close there. Brent, I'm glad that you're back. Way to create a new experience and reboot your computer so that you could come on back. What is a victim to you? How do you define it? The dictionary, I believe it was Webster's, says a victim is a person who was harmed, injured, or killed as a result of a crime, accident, or other event or action. And what I want to say here to start out and to set the tone for the next 6 weeks of the drama triangle and the empowerment triangle is that we've all been injured by a person, an event, a circumstance. We've all been injured physically. We've all been injured mentally, emotionally, socially, relationally. It happens to all of us. And I want to tell a couple stories, one from my own life today and one from a patient that I'm working with. When our human system responds to that moment of injury or repeated injury, it can wire in a pattern to your nervous system, a program that can run and you don't know it's running. And so if you are caught up in some circuits in your nervous system that look, smell, feel, behave like victim, I just want to reassure you that that is normal. It happens to all of us, and it deserves compassion, empathy, support, care, and love. Because somewhere in your system, there was hurt, and it deserves the support that it needs to heal. Sometimes that can look a little bit messy and uncomfortable and chaotic and create suffering that can last, in my experience, for decades. And the way out is probably many, but I'm going to share a little bit more today about what I think works and what I think is less than helpful. Angry Peach, hi, I'm so excited. I saw you at the end of last week and you're here today live. Today we are talking about the victim role. So, Dr. Stephen Cartman in the 1960s noticed these social roles in human interaction. And people would commonly fall into one of these three in the triangle. This triangle right here represents the dreaded drama triangle. And you have the victim down here at the bottom, the rescuer, and the persecutor. And today we're going to talk about the victim. And as we have more awareness and can make more choice, we can shift towards the empowerment triangle, which was created by David Emerald. And he's got some lovely things on thepowerofted.com. So I want to be sure and give him credit because I'm pulling some of my content from him here today. And the victim can empower themselves just like Jody did, and how she reframed Mondays. Mondays are just a 24-hour day that starts and ends while the world spins on its axis. So Jody was able to give us a really clear example of what a creator looks like. And so the victim can become creator, the rescuer can become coach, and the persecutor can become challenger. And we're going to spend the next 6 weeks exploring each one of these roles, how they live in our mind, body, relationships, and life, and what we can do to get more clear to make choices on, do I want to engage with this role right now or not? Angry Peach, how do you define what a victim is? Anybody else? Okay, victim. When you hear that word, I invite you right now to notice your body. Notice your breath. Notice your muscles. Specifically, notice the muscles in your face, your hands, your neck. Yeah. When you hear that word, it registers and has an emotional motor program, because with the word victim comes emotions, and every emotion has a motor program that expresses itself in your body. So Angry Peach defines a victim as somebody who's been abused wrongfully. And that in my body feels heavy, and I sort of go into this little bit of collapse energy. I feel really heavy and like disengaged in my face, tense. My breath is like such a short, shallow range of motion. And as you notice that in your body, become aware and and ask yourself, does this motor program in my body that's associated with victim, is this safe for me? Is this comfortable for me? And if it is, please feel free to choose to stay in it. But when you hear the word victim and you notice how you feel in your body, if it's maybe not comfortable or less pleasant than you would like, notice that you can change it, right? Like sometimes for me, just shaking my hands, moving my legs a little bit, reaching up, stretching, getting big in my face. Wow, I can like wake up, right? Because for me in my body, the word victim is a little overcoupled with collapse, freeze energy. And so that's your first invitation today, is to just become aware of how that word lives in your body. And tell me, please, write in the chats, what the chats, the chat, chats, chat, how did victim when you paid attention, whether you're watching live or later? How did victims show up in your body? Right? We can be a victim when we abused ourselves wrongfully, just like Angry Peach said, or when another abuses us wrongfully. Either way, that will live in our body in some way. And I'm curious, how does it live in you when you hear that word? What did you notice in your body? Put it in the comments and become aware, because if you're not aware, you can't choose to continue that engagement or to disengage and choose a different kind of engagement. Mm. Brent, transactional analysis model. The parent, ooh, wow, Brian, major skin crawl. Yep. What else? Oh, Jody, instant frowny brow. Yes, yes. Tell me more. What did you notice? Just fascinating, right? You hear a word, it registers in your brain, it sticks with emotions, and it has a motor program in your body. Wow, I have chills. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Angry Peach noticed a shallow breath coupled with the intent to dissociate. Oh God, that is so good, right? I'm hearing um, something that I can resonate with. This like kind of freeze, stop. This is too much, too fast, too soon. Don't like it. Don't want it. I need to get out of here. So then we dissociate. And that's happening with just a word. These dynamics are ubiquitous and everywhere. So we are going to explore more in your human system. How does victim show up? Fresh and gray. Beautiful. Thank you for contributing. This is my first time seeing you. I'm glad you're here. Fresh and Gray says, sadly, I feel our society has unjustly determined who even gets to be a victim. Sad. Yes. Like you're not even choosing your own experience. The society that you're in is really driving that. And I can relate to that. And I'm sure other people can too. Like, who's doing the choosing on your experience in your body? Is it the society around you? Is it something within you? Is it both? Either way, if you don't know how it lives in you, you can't see it, you can't choose it, you can't choose to engage or disengage. Um, this is interesting what Brent's saying, and it connects to this idea that every human, and this is my idea, I've been thinking about it for a while, has three governing bodies. I'm living in the United States. We have three systems in leadership that theoretically work well together and act as a checks and balances so that not any one um, system dictates and becomes oppressively in charge and controlling, right? So we have the United States president, we have the Supreme Court, and we have Congress. And they're made up of different mechanisms, different numbers of people, different ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And as those three systems, again, theoretically, check and balance one another, we have a healthy US system. I'm not saying that we do, this is theoretical. And it's the same with our human body. We have strategies for thinking, feeling, and behaving. And the way we think, feel, and behave can lead how we show up in the world in any given moment. And I see myself and other people, me less and less so, because awareness really is an intervention where we're maybe feeling something and then that becomes the governing dictator of like, I don't feel like doing this YouTube live. Well, then I'd never do them because I never feel like it. So I have to tune in with my feeling of I want to move away from this, I don't want to do it, to my thinking and behaving. I know that consistent behavior repeated over time drives change. And I'm thinking that even though going into this activity, I don't want to do it, I know that afterwards I always feel better. It's kind of like that with almost every social engagement. I have this like initial resistance that I don't want to go. And then I go, and then afterwards I feel better and happier. Right. So we can learn to monitor our thinking, feeling, and behaving and act in a way that's checks and balances so that overall we can do more choosing of ourselves and our lives and how we want to show up. So, what Brent was saying is in this transactional analysis model, the parent is a victimizer, which could play into another role of persecutor or rescuer that we'll get into later. And it interacts with the child as a victim. And that's true. That's why I think on some level, all of us have victim energy inside of us because we have been powerless, helpless, and unable to change our circumstances when we were young. And that stuff imprints itself. It takes 3 seconds for a scary moment to encode itself in our long term memory. So, transactional analysis, I'm assuming that you're talking about adults. When adults are acting like adults towards one another, they're not acting like the victimizer and victim, but oftentimes we respond to others as though we're a child or a victim, and then we will actually become victimized. Brent, that's so true, right? Like we can sometimes do this with perceived authority figures. Yes, these dynamics of authority can bring up in us these subconscious victim programs, right? And the best is to know how the victim energy lives in your body, right? Brian wants to crawl out of his skin. Somebody else had an instant furrowed brow, shallow breath. Coupled with, I got to dissociate. The more we can catch our body sooner, quicker, faster in the role of victim. Okay, let me take a breath here. Let me orient to some safety and let me look around. Let me create a little more space between stimulus and response so I can get out of these ubiquitous, powerless social roles that are occupying us and we don't even know it. So, thinking, feeling, and behaving in your human system, the government. Um, TED, where are they? The Power of TED. They have a really lovely breakdown of thinking, feeling, and behaving as a victim. And I'm making my own spreadsheet. So if you would like a copy, email me at info@greentreemind.com and I will get that for you. So, victim, hear the word, register how it is in your body, and it's not wrong. It's not bad. It happens to all of us, and we need support to get out of it. So, the number one thing that I did that I didn't know I was doing and kept myself in a victim is that I made it wrong. So, I'm just evoking the energy of compassion here as we develop more awareness around what is victim. And if you're interested here in participating, because it does help you learn this stuff deeper, what is victim thinking? What is victim feeling? And what is victim behaving? What's one of those that strikes out to you? When I go victim, I think XYZ. When I go victim, I feel XYZ. When I go victim, I behave XYZ. Okay, so for me, when I go victim thinking, number one, I can't. That is the like theme song of my victim dance is the words I can't. I can't do this. It's too hard. I'll never be able to do this. I'll never be able to get there. This could never happen for me, right? So that's the thinking and the feeling that goes along with this. An angry peach, the world is unjust, right? So, angry peach, yes, feeling powerless. Angry peach, myself too. Powerless, helpless, hopeless pit of despair is the theme song of my victim dance. And it shows up in my body. It like my first way I know I'm in victim is I'm like this. and my breathing's very shallow. I have more tension in my neck, and there's a lot of like a cement block right here for me. Owana, when she goes victim, she wants a rescuer, right? So that leads to behaving, because I can relate to this. I want to know, when I'm in victim, how am I behaving? I'm thinking I can't do this. I'm feeling helpless, powerless, pit of despair. I want to burp. I have irritable bowel. Like, I'm speaking truth. There's a Jewish saying, like, sneezing to the truth. For me, it's burping to the truth. Whenever I have digestive activity and I'm speaking truth to something, it's so true. So the behaving is, I am desperately, vigilantly looking around for someone, anything, anywhere, anything to make my present moment circumstance better. And I'm looking for the solution outside of me. I'll give you an example. I went to the grocery store yesterday, and here in Colorado, we're catching up to what Switzerland has known for decades, is bring your own bags and bag it yourself, because it saves them time and money. It's good for the environment. And so when you go to the grocery store here in Colorado, we're used to them I'm used to them bagging it for me, and they put it in bags that they give to me. Plastic or paper, I get to choose. But yesterday I'm there, there's nobody to help me. I brought my bags, but there's no one there to help me. And this guy's checking my groceries, and they're coming down this conveyor belt faster than I can bag it. And I watched myself go victim so fast, my friends, so fast. I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't keep up the belt, the groceries. It's coming too fast. I can't bag it. Where's somebody? Please help me. And I'm not making fun of myself, even though I'm totally making fun of myself. This was real. It just emerged. And I caught myself like that. Like, wow, look at how fast that story came, right? I sunk down, powerless, pouty. I need somebody to help me. Nobody's here. I can't do this. I just want to collapse on the ground. And then I watched it. And some people say, myself included, the more you can shorten the distance between tears and humor, the more resilient and nimble your nervous system will be. So I just noticed that. And I caught it. I said, you know what? I bet I can. I'm sure I can figure out a way to bag these groceries. And as they're like plummeting down the line, the kombucha's falling over everywhere, and he's seeing what's happening. And I just let it spill. And nothing broke. It just went outside of its contained area. And I did my best. I found my breath, and I packed my bags. And so that was me choosing to disengage from the thinking, feeling, and behaving of my own victim without making it wrong, right? Just like, oh, sweetie, like this little 4-year-old inside of me, this little child that didn't think she could do it. And she was right. Like, the groceries were coming faster, just like Jody said, Lucille Ball and the chocolates. Like, oh my God, like, that's trauma. Too much, too fast, too soon. And it's like, well, okay, it is what it is. I'm feeling overwhelmed, but I'm pretty sure I can handle this. And I just let it spill. And then I shifted. And that was such a big win. You know, sometimes the biggest wins come in the little moments. Um, Earthing one. I haven't seen you here yet either. Nice to meet you. A victim is a crime perpetrated against a human. Earthing, God, I have so much to say about that, because it is. And then what happens is that it imprints in my nervous system. I've had crimes committed against me, and it then runs the program. And then as that program remains inside of me until I change it, or it gets changed, I will continue to bring victim energy to present day circumstances, even if there's no crime perpetuated against me. Yesterday at the grocery store, not having bagging support and the conveyor belt going faster than I could keep up with, that's not a crime. Yet my system was perceiving it as such, and then reacting and responding appropriately. And That's where I think it's our power lies in the awareness and then the curious response around it. So earthing, great comment. I love it. Um, Brent Green said the grocery store checker was the parent and me bagging groceries total. I was the total child. Like I had that like, oh my God. And it happened so quick. It was just this overwhelming response of like, I can't keep up. We've all had that as kids, and that can create an injury to a child emotionally, especially if it's not repaired, right? Too much, too fast, too soon. I can't keep up. Can you relate to that at some point, anytime in your life? That's a rupture of safety and connection, right? That can be perceived as abandonment. That can be perceived as rejection. That can be perceived as failure. And all of that lives in your body, my body, in a certain way. For some people, it's less heavy and controlling. And for other people, it's very oppressive and controlling. Angry Peach had an insight when the victim mindset, and that's a good distinction there, right? Because there's the victim that deserves healing, and then the victim mindset. And I think the victim mindset is the perpetuation of a lack of full healing in that circumstance where you were experiencing victim because there was an injury, harm, or some kind of action done against you. So when Angry Peach has this victim mindset takes over, she blames herself for being in that position. I'm victiming my part that feels victimized. Yes. And that is exactly how I kept myself stuck in this victim, rescuer, persecutor dynamic for literally decades. So, Jody, Mitchell has a gorgeous comment. It's happening to me, not of me. And I'm having this insight right now in this moment where, yes, something did happen to you. It's not your fault. You didn't choose it. You didn't create it. You didn't attract it. Life just has fucked up shit that happens. And excuse my French for swearing, but sometimes I use swear words intentionally to appropriately described the horror, the suffering, and the hell that comes along with the human experience. So we all have something that happened to us. And then the body makes all kinds of choices about how to respond or react in that moment. And it can take 3 seconds to encode or wire itself into your nervous system program. And then you're not a victim anymore, but you're carrying the victim mindset in brain, body, breath, and you keep showing up in life and not taking responsibility for your system's part in how it's engaging in your life. And that's why I think Jody could reframe Mondays and go creator of Monday instead of victim of Monday, because she recognizes, okay, this is happening of me. The way that I am now looking at this situation is perpetuating my suffering in this situation. And so a victim in their thinking really believes that they're powerless and at the mercy of life's circumstances. And just like Angry Peach, and I'm sure many of us can relate, that feels awful, right? I was a victim when my mom had a brain aneurysm and I was 11 years old. And then my sisters all left. My mom had died, and my dad was like the walking dead. And I already was very afraid of my dad because he was very much the persecutor or the victimizer, like Brent's talking about. And I didn't feel safe with him. So I very much had years of practice and repetition of being a victim where I felt like I couldn't get out because I was a kid. And as long as I am an adult still acting like a kid and not taking responsibility for that, I will continue to experience life like that. Now, when my mom died, I know that my nervous system went into shock and freeze. And then I very quickly went into flight because I got to take action. But there's not a lot of action to take. And so I was stuck in this nervous system that had encoded and wired a program in the face of threat, scary, fear, perceived danger. I go freeze and then I go flight. And so I'm in this kind of layered system where on the surface, it's very like high energy, and a lot of people like that, but it's super flight. And then underneath that is a freeze. And that freeze showed up for me in a very shallow breath pattern, a clenching of my abdominal muscles, and literally acting like a tourniquet on my GI, my digestive system, neck tension. Okay. So then my body, years of practicing that, tells me I'm running victim energy because of irritable bowel symptoms, neck pain, migraine headaches, jaw problems, surgeries in my thumb and shoulder coming from my neck because I'm just in this perpetual state of fight, flight, freeze. And so I didn't like that. So I would try to get out. And Jody says, yes, it is exhausting for the system because fight, flight, freeze are wonderful, life giving tools for short term use, not long term living. And we will often become a victim of our own circumstances, our own program, because we're running victim circuitry. We don't know that we're running victim circuitry, and we're chasing the diet and the disc problems and having surgery and supplementation and all kinds of medication and surgery without addressing that which is happening inside of us that is driving us and our own suffering and our own lack of well-being. And the victim won't own that. They'll just persecute themselves. And as long as we don't own that that program is running inside of us, we remain powerless to change it and at the mercy of external rescuers that may or may not actually be able to help, right? An external surgeon to fix my back problem, an external naturopathic doctor. And I'm not blaming or shaming or judging any of these as wrong. There's a time and place for, functional medicine and surgery and all of that. But there is also a time and place for us to take responsibility for this normal, natural, difficult mechanism that happens inside of us. Uh, what is this bringing up for you? Right? So the first step is to become aware of how these circuits live inside of you. And what will often happen for the victim is we'll try to get out of victim by either persecuting or rescuing. And I guarantee you that is a way to remain in suffering for decades if you're as good as me at it, because I didn't like victim and I hated it. So I went into a profession of rescuing, right? And maybe if I can help other people feel better and start listening to their bodies, I can rescue them from the pain and suffering of myself, right? My mom had headaches for months. She died of a brain aneurysm. Maybe if I can rescue these other people and get them to listen to their bodies, I can stop that bad outcome from happening. I'm playing the past out into the present, and I'm never actually breaking free from the program inside of me. I'm just perpetuating the victim rescuer cycle when I chose to go into healthcare. And that has benefits and drawbacks. I also would frequently go into persecutor, like Angry Peach can relate. We hate the feelings of victim, powerless, helpless. I can't. Those are terrible, difficult, unpleasant emotions. And so we'll try whatever we can to get out of them, including becoming the persecutor and blaming other people. My favorite game as a teenager, well into my 20s and early 30s, was to persecute my father. He was suffering himself, but I was making him the bad guy for all of my problems, with my health and with my relationship and how he didn't show up for me. Man, life's hard. We're all doing the best we can. How do we break out of these roles? We're going to talk a little bit more about that each week. But I think the first step with the victim is to recognize we all have it. It's not a character flaw, it's a biological mechanism that occurs, and you are not alone. Okay, you're not alone. Earthing, when I focused on my body, when I thought of victim, wow, I felt pain. My stomach tightened. I had short breaths, feeling of dread, and legs feel frozen. Wow, wow, wow. Earthing, thank you for that share. And I really, really encourage all of you, become aware of how that word lives in your body. That's the first and most important step to become more able to disengage. Earthing, when you said that, I noticed that my hands went here because it's like, ah, it's too much. I have such a freeze response pattern in my neck. I had my tonsils out as a teenager. Like they're so, which is totally connected. And I don't know that I want to go there or not, but I think I'll go there. Every physical expression on some level in mind or body is a desperate cry of attention to relieve the suffering that comes with unmet need. Every physical, mental health problem is a desperate cry of attention that I am suffering and I have unmet need. Right? I had my tonsils taken out as a teenager. That's what Western medicine did at the time. Repetitive tonsillitis, take out the organ. But I still get the pain every now and again. When I look at that from a biomedical model, that was an appropriate thing to do. But when I look at it from a biopsychosocial model, where the world around us and our mind, thoughts, feelings, behaviors affects the physical. My body was crying out, please, somebody support me in this difficult journey with having lost my mom, all my sisters left, and my dad is a walking dead zombie who's traumatized himself. I need support. And so that's what the Western medical system did is it took out the organs because we don't know how to listen because it's hard. That's why these conversations are so important for all of us. Okay, the victim. Here's what I want to say. It's not all bad. There's benefits to it. The victim energy as it runs in you is an indicator on your dashboard. It is a call of attention when you notice victim energy that something in you somewhere is suffering and it needs something. Get curious. What is the unmet need? Right? For me, do I need to forgive myself, my father, the healthcare system, my mom, life? Yes. Do I heavily lean into Archbishop Desmond Tutu's book of forgiving and the four-step process? Absolutely. I'll probably do a live on that at some point. So when you notice victim energy, please, please, please do your best to practice compassion towards yourself, or at the very least, curiosity. Right? Is there something that still needs healing? Is there something that still needs attention? Is there something in you that still needs support? Maybe the support of an upright spine and breath is what you need. So, when you notice victim energy, practice as best as you can curiosity and compassion. And recognize that there are benefits. It's everything has a light and shadow expression. Everything has cost and benefit. When I look at the victim energy in me, the benefit, my God, it is a familiar security blanket for me. The chemical comfortability that I have in that familiar pit of despair, it's like a security blanket as a kid, right? But I'm now an adult and that security blanket is ratty, nasty, and it smells bad. Yet I have a chemical addiction to the comfort of that role and how it shows up. So have compassion because the benefit is that it's safe, familiar circuitry. And that can evoke a scary change to think about leaving that because you're stepping into the unknown, the unfamiliar, chemicals that are unfamiliar, ways of showing up in relationship with other people, yourself, in life that are unfamiliar. The unknown can be a physiologically terrifying experience. The other benefit that I think to the victim role is that it lets us be safe, right? We better the devil you know. It lets you stay small and contracted, right? Playing big and expanding in your world is a terrifying, exhilarating, but can be terrifying thing. And I think we need lots of support and um, bravery, courage to be able to do that. Right. Every week when I do these lives, that's an act of courage for me. And I'm practicing stepping out of the victim role and into creator. But the victim, it feels very safe because it lets us stay safe. But I would argue, right? A lot of people will say, yeah, I'm going to stay small and not put myself out there because that's safer. And it is. But long term, staying in a contracted state in mind and body, your body doesn't like that. We're designed to contract and expand. Look at your rib cage. 20 to 25,000 times a day. It wants to do a full expression and excursion. And so, this argument that a victim role mentality can keep us safe and small and protected, it is that actually true? I don't think it is. Okay, so how do you get out of the victim mentality? Have compassion for the victim within you, become aware, and then start making choices. Do you want to engage or disengage from that role? Angry Peach, thank you. Every physical expression on some level in mind and body is a desperate cry of attention to relieve the suffering that comes with an unmet need. Like, I don't think I've ever had a more compassionate viewpoint towards the victim, right? Because there's the victim and the victim mindset. Blaming myself and rescuing others never got me out. It was stepping into creator that let me really find some freedom and laughter in how the victim was showing up for me. Thank God for that grocery store clerk and the Lucille Ball chocolate groceries coming at me yesterday, right? What a beautiful example of disengaging by bringing humor closer to it. Um, Marcus, right? There's always energies around us that can remove the tendencies towards victim energy, right? What energies do you need around you to help support you if you have a victim mindset or physiology that's keeping you trapped or stuck? Jody Mitchell says her inner voice looks and says, let's make this better. How can we make this better? Like a parent to a child. Absolutely. I hear in that a lot of optimism, Jody, that you believe that it can be better. And that's so important with the victim mentality or physiology is the belief that it can be better. Now, I want to share one final story. Last week, I worked with a woman in here on these chairs and on that floor, and she's 35 years old or 38. Forgive me if I got that wrong. And she has had lower back pain since age 13. And she's seen everybody under the sun. She's not a surgical candidate. And so we're working together, and it's so uncomfortable, but good, right? To break out of these roles is uncomfortable. I validate that and worth doing. So, victim affects your mind and it affects your body. And so, I want to share with you what I saw in this lovely woman as I untangle the wires. Okay. Everybody has noticed how victim shows up in their body. And I had her get down on the floor, and she's not in acute pain or distress. It's just kind of this nagging, long-standing thing, and then, it gets worse and it gets better. But she gets down on the floor like it just if the body could scream out to me, it would be like, I can't, I can't, I'm not breathing. Like so much fear to move. Like I can't do this, right? And we did some stuff on the floor, and then I asked her, I said, "Are you open to discovering more choice in how you move to get on and off the floor?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Now, I have my own history of back pain. I have had cauda equina and foot drop and, sciatica down both legs. I've been out of work for weeks at a time. It's a scary place to be. I have an MRI that says bulging discs, L4, L5, S1, all the things. I haven't had back pain in years, my friends. Why? Because I'm lucky and because I'm skilled and I put into practice what I preach. And I am really lucky in that I know how to move my body and I know how the body is run by the brain. And so I said, all right, can I show you what I did when I was in acute pain? And so, CH Dante, hello. I'm showing her how to bend at the hips, how to get on and off the floor, just move different, right? Because her victim had a way of moving that was riddled with I can't, overprotective, over engaging, guard and pull everything together because I'm hurting and I've been hurting since 13 and I'm 35 or 38, whatever it is. Victim is wired into her back. And so I gave her some other choices. In a way simple and in a way mind-blowing. And so I had her get up off the floor, and instead of holding her breath, she's and she gets off the floor. And my friends, do you know what she says and does? She looks at me with like shock, surprise. And she says, when I disengage, it doesn't hurt. Right? So she was locked up in this engage. I have to engage my back muscles and engage my core and protect, protect, protect. And she had been, unbeknownst to herself, perpetuating this cycle between her mind and body of, I can't, right? Every time she sits down, my back hurts. And she just goes into the story. And now she's starting to relate differently to her back and how the victim is showing up in her back and saying, you know what, I can breathe differently when I move because when I disengage from the over engagement and I connect and engage with my breath instead, it doesn't hurt to move. This woman, this is changing her life, right? She tells me, now 7 visits in together, every time when I sit down and after a while it starts to hurt, I start paying attention in a new way, right? My old way was like, oh, there it is. I can't do anything about it. I just have back pain. And it's her identity. And now she's saying, hold on, I can move. I can change position. I can do a movement practice or an exercise or a mindful breath or something, and she's starting to change and she's creating new experiences for herself. And when she creates new experiences, she builds the circuits that don't reinforce victim energy. Okay, my friends. So, what is this bringing up for you? What do you want to take away from today? What do you want to be sure to remember? What was the aha for you? What did you learn? What do you want us to know? Because when you share it, you help it grow inside of you. CH Dante, good to see you again, my friend. No victim, just conditions. Correct, right? This young 35, 38-year-old, when she was 13, she was a victim. She had back pain and then fell into this funnel. And I think in many ways, the medical system, at least in our country, can be a victim, rescuer, persecutor model. And she got stuck in there. And those are the conditions. She need not be a victim of it. She can create new experiences for herself and shift herself out of victim and more into creator, which we'll explore next week. Hi, CH Dante. Good to see you. Brent, react to other adults as an adult, always. Yes. And if that's not possible for you, because it's not for me, just be aware of the child inside of you and help them heal, because the more that inner child heals from its experiences of suck, the more you parent that inner child, the more you can bring to the table the playful, healthy engagement of the child. I think honestly, me acting as an adult and having my inner child, somewhere safe in the backseat of my car, but I hear the input, I have way more fun in life. So, yes, acting as an adult, and part of the adult journey, I think, is to notice the inner child victim in you that's still just wounded and has unmet need and deserves healing, and get it the healing that it needs from you or another. Angry Peach. Yes, I want to remember there is always a choice. Oh, right. And that there is a underlying mental condition. Yes, everything. And that's not a character flaw. That's not something you've done wrong. We all have physical, mental, emotional, social conditions that drive our adult human behavior. And some of us are halfway to 90 in physical body, but sometimes acting like a 4-year-old. You've seen them. That's just a victim circumstance or whatever it is, maybe. And it's a desperate cry of attention to get the unmet need met. Jody, yes, you can question your own perceptions. That is the creator right there, is when we give a little more space between that stimulus and response. Then we can pecklity, pause, clarify, decide. Owana wants to ask herself more often, who am I now? Yes. So this week, beautiful. We can all pay attention. Where is victim energy showing up in you? Have compassion for the version of you that was a victim. Get curious, engage or disengage. Notice how it shows up in your body. And it's that curiosity instead of furiosity, right? Be curious instead of furious. That can lead you to create more space, new responses, new perceptions, new body activity. Angry Peach, thank you for your time and wonderful insights. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you that are here, that journeyed with me through the false start of today and the second start of today. And next week, we will be exploring the creator and how to engage more with that energy. And notice this coming week, where does victim show up? After creator next week, we'll do rescuer, coach, persecutor, and challenger. Thank you all so much for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And Marcus does as well. Take care.